This is James Lupton for Round 8 Boxing, and we're sponsored by Upton Clan Builders. And I'm joined today with Sian O'Toole. Sian, how are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. How are you?
Good. Yeah, very good. Thanks very much. Thanks for joining me today. Let's
Good.
go straight into it. You balance being a teacher, a mum, and a professional boxer. How do you manage that mental and physical energy and all that it demands?
I have like a daily checklist in my head, and I always kind of say, "Oh, it's been a successful day," unless it's a rest day. If I've trained, if I've worked and had good lessons, and then if I've had proper quality time with my little boy. So it's just as long as I can like go to bed and be like, okay, those three things are ticked off, and then it was kind of done well, then I'm happy. But I'm not gonna lie, it's a lot of stress sometimes. But I wouldn't have one thing without the other. It's a lot of spinning plates, to be honest.
Of course. I mean, how hard does it get?
Yeah, it depends what kind of level at camp I'm at. Obviously, if I've just finished a fight, it's a little bit, it's slowed down a little bit. Or if it's in school holidays, then I can actually train like a full-time athlete, which is what I want. So then I'm only training twice a day, and then I've just got my little boy, which is amazing. So then I've just got those two things to focus on. But when it's kind of at the height of camp and it's in the middle of the term, um, it does get really, really hard. It's long days. It's like 12-hour days. Sometimes I only see my little boy for an hour of that time. But yeah, it's just kind of seeing the bigger goal and just pushing one day that all of this hard work is going to be for a reason. And that one day, hopefully, I'll just kind of be able to turn boxing into a full-time career. So then I can just focus on those things. Look, it's just kind of like put it in the bank for later on.
That's it. It's sacrifices you've got to make, isn't it?
Yeah, so there's no other way about around it. So I just might as well get crack on and stop moaning.
That's it. You turned pro just over 2 years ago. You're already the Midlands area champion. What moment made you feel that you were made for boxing?
Oh God, that was a long time ago. I started boxing when I was 13, and I always told myself as soon as I had a national title, which I didn't realize how hard it was to get one back then. I was like, oh, I'm gonna have a national title, then I'm gonna quit. But then as soon as I got that, and then I kind of got the buzz for it, and I've never ever had a feeling like that before, and I just thought I just want more and more of this, and that there's no other feeling in the world that makes me feel the way boxing does, and probably since that time, all those years ago, I was like, oh, this is what I want to do, this is who I want to be.
Obviously, as you mentioned, there, national title was you boxed as an amateur. What were the biggest adjustments for you in that transition from amateur to pro?
I think it was kind of finding that balance where everyone is just thinks of amateurs as jumping around, point scoring, and then it's the complete opposite of the pros where you have to sit down and like lay on shots. But it was kind of that understanding for me that actually my style is what's got me so far already. So I didn't want to lose that because I thought that was a massive advantage that I already had, especially over a lot of people who haven't boxed amateur before. And that's got that hard work all over these years got to count for something. So it was kind of understanding, yes, I've got a lot to learn. There's a lot of inside work that I've never really practiced before, or I need to just brush up on, but also kind of having that balance. I think finding that balance is probably the hardest thing about transition. It's like, actually, yeah, that's good that I'm on my feet all the time, but then pick it down, sit on those shots, then I can hit harder as well as just point score. Um, yeah, and I think with the 2 minutes as well, it made that transition a little bit easier to be honest, because I could stay on my feet. Wasn't going to stay on my feet for 10 3-minute rounds. 10 twos is all that's got. Damn cats. Where
Talked about as your training had to be adjusted at all, because like you mentioned, was it pro styles, more sitting your shots, potentially going over the longer amount of rounds than amateurs. As your training adjusted at all?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like it depends on like the actual techniques, always the techniques always changing pads and stuff. I've always trained really hard. And the gym that I'm at, BCB, they are just very zoned in on how on fitness as well, which is amazing because I never go into a 10 round fight. I've had two now, 10 round fights, and I've never gone into either one thinking I'm not fit enough for this because I can just carry on and carry on. You always get a little bit of a dodgy round where you just get that tired. You always get a second wind. So it's kind of more intense. I'm training threes with the lads, and then it's only when it comes to the last few weeks of fight camp that I'm actually starting to do like sparring. Well, I always spar twos, but like bags and stuff, I'm training threes, and there's a lot longer runs as well. Um, and yeah, that's about it. It's kind of mirroring pretty much what I used to do in the amateurs, to be honest, but mirroring the amount of rounds and the length of the rounds instead. So instead of doing like a, I don't know, a 3-3 fartlek run or something like that, it would be a 6-2 or an 8-2 or a 10-2. And track's kind of been a massive um, eye opener for me on since turning pro. I never really did it once I left GB. Kind of probably out of laziness because nobody was kind of watching or anything. So then when I joined BCB, they do track on a Tuesday every Tuesday. And for the first year, I could only do it in the holidays, and I had to do it on a Friday on my own, because I do it when I was working. But this year, I've taken the Tuesdays off to kind of fit around training a little bit more, which has been really nice. But it's been a lot harder because when I did it on my own on a Friday, I had my own to like myself to just race against. But now it's all these men that can just run like 2 minute laps. It's just it's been an eye opener, but that's probably the hardest bit.
Is that competition in the gym good for you, pushing you harder?
Yeah, definitely. I feel like if I was the best person in that gym, there's no point in me being there. It's just really nice to have people not just to look up to, as in, oh, this is the person that I want to be in the rest of my career. It's nothing about that. It's about support, really. Saying, yeah, this is what they're at the moment. I can always be there because I know what I'm capable of. But I feel like everyone's just got a really family atmosphere in the gym. And if there's a hardship or anything, everyone is always there for each other. Um, and then yeah, in the wins if we success it, and then in the losses, then people are there for you as well. So I like the mix that we've got at the minute to be quite family orientated, I think.
Yeah, definitely. You're part of a new wave in British women's boxing talent. Since you turned pro 2 years ago, have you seen any changes in maybe the depth of the women's divisions or the competition coming through?
I feel like that's quite a tricky question because you could have asked me when I first started, when I first turned pro, I'd have been, yeah, women's boxing's booming at the moment. There was a massive surge in I don't know how to explain it. There was a publicity and things of it, and everyone was just chucking money left, right, and centre into it. And then as soon as it sort of started to calm down, all the money's been chucked into maybe a couple of situations, and then that's it. And then it's back to journey, either being a journeywoman or just making it really, really, really hard trying to sell tickets for people that don't want to watch women's boxing at that time. Or I always find it quite difficult, ticket wise, because like I said, I'm my mum. I go to school to teach. I've the only other time in my spare time I'm training. How on earth am I meant to go out and meet all these people to then bring all the tickets in? Um, but I think it's booming at the highest level, and there's not really much in between. You've either got to be at the very bottom and accept you're a journeywoman, or be at the very top. And it's kind of that middle bit that I'm in at the moment, trying to push my way through, push that boundary, and I feel like that's the trickiest part because you really have to prove yourself before somebody looks at you. But you can't prove yourself until somebody looks at you and gives you that opportunity. So it's kind of a bit of a dead end at the moment. But looking around me, that when you have got like promotions like MVP and you've got Matchroom showcasing girls who are really deserve it as well. They're not just there for publicity and just because they're a female boxer. They're there like Ellie Scotney is absolute like machine. Ticey Gallagher, Shona Whitmore, best mate's coming through. She's got her second fight this weekend. And Chloe Watson, who unfortunately lost with that eye cut on Saturday. It just thinks these are people that we've grown up with. We've worked together all the way through England, all the way through GB, and this is kind of where it needs to happen for these women because they are the future of boxing. People just need to give them an opportunity.
It's quite a interesting answer that it's, like you say, in that middle ground, you're sort of in a bit of a catch-22 because you don't want to be a journeywoman. You're pushing on for greater goals, but you're not getting these opportunities. What do you think needs to change at that level?
I don't know if I'm going to say something controversial though.
Do it.
I just feel like you are you're either already established and everybody just knows how amazing you are. For example, like pretty much all the women on MVP at the moment, they're all established because they're already world champions. I feel like I think promoters need to kind of push the boat out there a little bit more. Either not just look at the woman's looks or how much clothes they're going to take off for the camera, or actually go, do you know what, this woman's got potential, just like they would do with the men. I think they just actually need to just start looking at us as boxers rather than just female fighters. I think that even if it's subconscious, people think that it's not happening already. I think it's just a subconscious thing where people are like, okay, there's these two things, they need to be merged together and just look at us as just fighters, not females.
Do you find that frustrating when, obviously, you're a champion, you're the Midlands champion, you've won a title, you've earned that, you mentioned there two 10-round fights already, only 7 fights into your career. So you're already really pretty fast tracked at this point. Do you
Mm.
get frustrated seeing other girls maybe in positions where you feel you should be?
It depends on what the situation is, to be honest, because I always feel that their situation, them lowering their standards, wouldn't make my situation any better. So if even if they're not my friends or if I don't know them very well, like if they've got that opportunity, then good on them because that's where it kind of should be. They deserve it. So I wouldn't say I get frustrated that they've got it and not me, because I think that is everyone should just be able to get the best that they can get out of the sport. But it's frustrating when I'm pushing and pushing and pushing, and I'm not quite getting there quite yet, or haven't quite got the opportunity yet. But that's just having faith in myself and having faith that people are going to one day recognize me. There's just that, it's just got to be a bit of belief. And I thought maybe at this point in my career, then I would have an opportunity for a bigger title because actually, in fact, there's nothing left. I've done the area title. The next would be the English or the British, and the English doesn't exist in the females. Um, the British does exist, which we're kind of in talks on about that because I'm the next one in line as such for at featherweight. But Karris Artingstall, who's holding the British at the moment, she's been put into the European, so it's literally just waiting and waiting and waiting. Um, but yeah, sorry to answer your question. It's not frustrating to see other people win because it's amazing. They should have the opportunities, but I'm hoping then that I can also do that for myself as well, for my own achievements, my own goals.
No, definitely. Um, in terms of being a teacher and for what boxing has done to you personally, Sean, do you feel boxing should be introduced into the educational curriculum?
Absolutely. I'm actually in doing this in my own school at the moment. When I first joined teaching, I worked in a access to education type facility where it was children who couldn't access mainstream because they just couldn't cope in a mainstream school. And I went in there to kind of introduce boxing, but also go, actually, here's a bit of maths to do as well. So you can kind of balance the two. But since kind of going just into mainstream now, it's just I'm actually doing a lunchtime club, and I've kind of established myself as a maths teacher. All of the students know that I'm a boxer. They think they respect me a little bit more for that reason as well, because they're like, "Oh, this isn't just some like butch woman who doesn't have a clue about what they're on about." They know that I'm a good teacher as well. And I've introduced it. I've asked the head teacher, who's been incredible, and she's just like, "Yeah, of course you can." So I'm bringing it into lunchtime. Hopefully, it'll be an after school. Every time someone asks me a question about it in lessons, as long as they're doing their work, I'll answer the question about boxing because I think it is so important. It gets so many people out of holes. I mean, and mine was a pretty bit boring story about how I got into boxing, just because like my brother did it and I didn't know anything else. I didn't like any of the sport, so I just tried that and I loved it, and I was really lucky. But a lot of people aren't, are they? That's their be all and end all. They could go down awful path without boxing, and I've seen it happen. And yeah, I think 100% should be included in education because I'm already doing that, and I'm seeing the benefits and the respect that people are having for each other as well as myself, and seeing that they've actually got a purpose. They're not just hanging around street corners every night.
I don't know if you may have already seen it with your classes or if you feel it could do, but would that, do you think, help out and cut down or stop potential bullying and things like that?
100%. And I'm not just saying this because I'm really biased and I love the school that I'm at. They're really, really, really great kids. It's Bishop Perone in Worcester. I don't know whereabouts you're from. So you probably never heard of
I,
it. But you will not believe like the little amount of kind of comments I hear between the students. Like nobody says Nick calls each other names anymore. Like nobody, not that I can hear of. I'm probably just being a bit naive as well, to be honest. But like they're always quite supportive of each other, and we're talking like 11 to 16-year-old kids that you'd expect like fights or at least massive arguments and stuff. You don't see any of that. I've never seen a fight for the 4 years that I've been there. And every time there's something kind of someone's geared up, you have a conversation with them, like, yeah, to be fair, let's just leave it alone. Like the discipline that these children have got, and it's not everyone who's interested. Some of them have never set foot in a boxing ring before at all, but it's kind of instilling the same values that you would in the boxing gym anyway. Because I just feel like the values that you're trying to install in teenagers nowadays is just discipline, it's respect, it's compassion, it's loyalty. And they're the ones that you've seen in boxing gyms for the last 20, 50 years. So it's kind of all intertwined with each other.
No, absolutely. What's one thing that your students would be surprised to learn about you as a boxer?
Um, I don't know. I'm pretty much an open book. So every time they ask me something, I'm very honest. As long as it's kind of, I don't really swear or anything anyway. And my whole social media is open for publicity. Like I don't want to close it up just for opportunities and stuff. So I don't know. They kind of don't know. I think one day I did show them a fight, and they said, "Oh, like this." It was the last 10 round that I had, and this girl had like cut her eye open and stuff. She was really winding me up in the fight as well, like having these comments at me. And I proper sniggered when I saw her cut her eye, and I sniggered in front of them, and I was like, "Oh yeah, she deserved that." And they're like, "Miss, what's wrong with you?" So I think they just realised that I have got a bit of a nasty streak when it feels like it. And actually, I'm just like, oh, smiley, smiley, happy, 1 + 1 = 2 kind of person. But there's a little bit more to me than that. That's the best I can feel of. I'm pretty boring, really.
Well, it sounds like you're quite open, really. Like, say, if they ask a question, as long as they don't know what you answer it anyway, so you're quite open on that front as well. Um,
Yeah.
Last question, Sean. Just looking ahead, let's say 12 months from now, where do you want to be and what success do you want to have had in that time?
I want to be a British champion. I want to be a Commonwealth champion. I want to at least be in the mix on kind of a world ranking to say this is what you could get in a couple of years' time. I'm not saying I'm going to be a world champion in a year's time, but I want to be on that rung, on that ladder to say, do you know what, this is what I'm doing this for. And showing progression in my career, it's some sort of progression what I'll be happy with. This age, and this is why you've been doing it since you were 13 years old.
You
And I
mentioned, oh, go on.
like to box full time, 100%. And I think the advantage that people are lucky enough to have when they're already these type of champions is because they've got the backing behind them because they're doing it full time and they've got the time and they're not just fitting it between shifts and schedules and stuff like that. I just want to be on an even playing field and be able to just put my all into it as well. I think.
No, absolutely. You mentioned Karris Artingstall is the current British champion. Being put forward for the European, so it could be a vacant title you fight for. Who else is in the mix? Is there anyone sort of you're looking at that you'd like to fight for that title?
I don't know, to be honest. I will literally fight anyone that's put in front of me. I mean, I don't know if she's even going to vacate it. They said they might have, it depends on what the board says or what even her team says, that she could just keep it until after the European title fight. So whoever's in the way, it's not going to be personal. I respect her as a fighter. She's a fantastic fighter. She's a fantastic person as well. Of everyone else kind of in the British rankings, I also respect in the same amount. So it's whoever's they ask me to fight, I need to fight because that's the belt that I want.
Absolutely. Well, Sean, thank you very much for your time. It's a pleasure speaking to you, and best
Thank
of luck.
you.
And hopefully, this time next year we'll speak again as the British champion.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for your time.